Hey everyone, welcome back to Unorthodox Cricket, and what relief it must be to be an English fan right now. Absolutely massive game overnight at the Cricket World Cup last night. India versus England. England needed to win to push on for a semi-final spot, and they delivered exactly what they needed to do. So what we're going to do today, guys, is we're going to take a quick look at that England and India game. Then we're going to take a look at some of the strengths and some of the weaknesses of the Indian team and just see if there are any potential changes to be made moving forward. After that, we're also going to do the same thing with the England team. And then finally, we're going to take a quick look at tonight's game between the West Indies and Sri Lanka, which is a bit of a dead rubber, but there's still some great players on display, and hopefully we can get a good game of cricket in. So as we take a look at last night's game between England and India, now this was massive for England. They needed to win to push on for a semi-final position, and they've managed to do so. So after this result, it means they need to beat New Zealand in a couple of days' time to secure a semi-final spot. So England batted first and scored 337 for 7, with Johnny Bairstow top scoring with 111. Now Jason Roy came back from injury and really showed what England had been missing over the last couple of games. He went hard at the top and got them off to a flyer. Ben Stokes continued his good form, another 50 for him, and he closed the innings with a 79. Now the best figures for the Indian team was Mohammad Shami, who picked up another 5-wicket bag, went for 69 runs, but still to take 5 wickets is a really good effort. But for me, the pick of the bowlers was Jasprit Bumrah. He bowled 5 at the top, and then he bowled his final 5 at the death, and just kept hitting those Yorkers and proved so difficult to get away. Now in reply, India only managed to make 306 for 5 at the end of their 50 overs. Rohit Sharma scored another 100 as third for the tournament, ending up on 102. Virat Kohli looked very classy again and scored a 66, but couldn't kick on to those triple figures. I think that's definitely going to come later on in the tournament for sure, and probably knowing him, it'll be in the semi and in the final. Hardik Pandya came out with quite a tough task, and he did his best to try and get India over the line, and he ended up with 45. Now the pick of the English bowlers, Liam Plunkett picked up 3 for 55 with his little cross seamers that just have a little bit of natural variation, and picked up 3 wickets there. And for me, the pick of the English bowlers, Chris Woakes, 2 for 58, but more importantly, were his 5 up front. They were so economical, got rid of KL Rahul, and Rohit Sharma couldn't get him away early on. Now what a performance that was from the English team under huge amounts of pressure, coming off losses, and they needed to win this one, but the tone was really set by Johnny Bairstow and Jason Roy. They really set the English team up for a big score. Through the middle orders, they started to slip away a bit. Joe Root was a little bit slow through the middle order, but then at the death they managed to capitalise. Now in the chase, I think the Indians probably lost the game in the first 15 overs. They were very slow, the run rate just kept growing and growing, and I think it was up to 8s or 9s come the end of the 15th over. So when you start like that and you have to chase 8, 9 and over for the remaining 35 overs, it becomes a really hard task. But I think the real crime is being 5 wickets down in a chase of 337 and not getting there. You've got to use up your resources, whether that's guys going harder earlier on or just taking more risks in general to try and get that run rate under control. So I've no doubt there's going to be quite a bit of talk around that game, just where things went wrong for India and where things did go right for England. But on both sides of the coins, there's definitely improvements to be made, and I can guarantee these two teams are going to be super hard to beat come semi-final time if England can beat New Zealand in 2 days' time. So since that was India's first loss of the tournament, what we're going to do is we're going to take a quick look at some of the strengths and weaknesses moving forward and just see if there's any gaps to fill. So taking a look at India's strengths, for me, Virat Kohli and Rohit Sharma have been phenomenal this tournament. Rohit picked up his 3rd century against England. Even though Rohit struggled right at the start of his innings, he managed to fight through and build an innings and also catch up with the strike rate. Now that might have cost India in the first 15 overs, but I think moving forward, it's a positive thing that he's maintaining his form and he's picked up another 100. Now Virat Kohli scored his 5th half century in a row, and he'll be looking to push on for a big one later down the track. Now, he's just so solid at number 3. He hits the ball so cleanly and he's so reliable. You know, if you do lose a wicket early on, he's going to be the man who comes in, keeps the runs ticking over, and can really push on for a big one. Now, I think come semis and finals time, he's going to be a key man. I don't think he's going to be getting 50 and getting out. That's where his determination's really going to come in, and really win India the big games. Now watching Jasprit Bumrah last night, absolutely fantastic. He hits the Yorkers so regularly and just proves so difficult to get away at the death. Not only is he a wicket-taking option in the first 10 to 15 overs, but at the death, for me, he's the best death bowler in the world at the moment. And backing up Bumrah, Mohammad Shami, we've seen his wicket-taking ability. That's so key throughout the whole innings to keep taking regular wickets, to restrict runs and make sure batsmen have to keep getting in regularly. So India moving forward, I think if you can build around those strengths, you've got a potential World Cup winning side there. Now just taking a quick look at some of India's potential weaknesses, they're really missing Shikhar Dhawan at the top. As we've seen, he's such a great performer. He performs so well in world events and in particularly in England. So replacing him with KL Rahul has been absolutely huge. I think we all know that KL Rahul is a class player, but he's really struggled this whole tournament, and India will be really hoping that he can come good in the later parts of the tournament. Now I think what was really missing last night was a bit of variety in the spin bowling department. Now Chahal and Yadav are great bowlers, but there is a little bit of lack of variety. They're both leg spin bowlers, so you don't have that variety of an off spinner or a slow left arm orthodox. So potentially to mix up that variety, you could look at Ravi Jadeja. He's done it so well. He does have the best economy rate out of any of the Indian spinners, but his average is slightly higher. So India will have to balance up whether that attacking option with the two leg spinners is the way to go, or someone like Ravi Jadeja who can really hold up an end and also gives you some value with the bat. And lastly, on India's weaknesses list, I've got the finishing power. As we saw last night, being 5 down and not chasing a total, it's just really criminal. So there are a few issues there. I was hoping Rishabh Pant would come in and do that. Now he looked a little bit nervous in his innings and really struggled to find his feet. I think he'll come good later on in the tournament. Now Kedar Jadhav, he's really handy if he's in it early, but there's another question there if he has the finishing power to end an innings. And also criticising their finishing power is probably a little bit unjustified. You could probably push that back onto the top order. They probably could have been a bit more aggressive at the top and left the tail less to deal with. But at the end of the day, if you are batting 5, 6, 7, you have to have that ability to strike it over 200 and finish games off. Now, it was a great comeback from England last night, but there's still a couple of areas which they want to improve on. So let's take a look at some of the strengths and weaknesses moving forward. So pretty obvious one first up, Jason Roy and Johnny Bairstow. Now, it was huge for England to get Roy back. We saw he just comes out, plays his shots, no fear whatsoever, and really takes that pressure off Johnny Bairstow. It's such a different feel seeing Jason Roy stroll out to the crease as opposed to James Vince. You just know that there's a match winner there in Roy, and in combination with Johnny Bairstow, really sets the platform for the rest of the England team. Now, as we saw again last night, England's fielding has been phenomenal this whole World Cup. Some absolutely great grabs, and they do it under pressure. Chris Wokes took an absolute stunner on the boundary just when Rishabh Pant was starting to find his feet and sent him back at a crucial time. As I've already discussed on this channel, Jofra Archer, absolute class with the ball. He's a wicket taker, he can also bowl at the death, and he's just got so much variety to offer, and he's going to be huge for England moving forward, possibly into the semi-finals and the final. Now, one of England's biggest strengths, their finishing power. Now, not only do they have the finishing power, but typically with Roy and Bairstow, they've got that base to really have the freedom to swing from the hips from ball one. With the likes of Owen Morgan, Ben Stokes, Jos Buttler, potentially Moeen Ali, Chris Wokes, that's some of the best hitting in the tournament, and when it's coming off such a good base, they're going to be really hard to beat come semis and finals time. Now, there's not a huge amount of weakness in that England team at the moment, but a couple of things I've picked up on which could be crucial moving forward. Joe Root's strike rate. Now, he came in last night with a pretty good base, but he sort of failed to get going early on and put a little bit of pressure back onto Bairstow. So Joe Root's such a good guy if you lose an early wicket and have to rebuild, but if there is a foundation and Joe Root comes to the wicket, he's really got to be a bit more proactive with ticking the ball over, even if that's just to get the other hitters on strike, but he needs to be operating at least 100. And one other weakness I can see in the English team is their lack of spin option. Now, Adil Rashid's had a bit of a hit and miss World Cup, and Moeen Ali's been in and out of the team for a while now. Now I think we've seen over the last week or so the English pitches are getting a little bit dry and they are starting to turn a bit more. So coming into the last part of the tournament, I think spin's going to play a huge role. Whether or not England go with Moeen Ali, Adil Rashid, or they bring in Liam Dawson is going to be an absolute huge one. But no matter who they go with, they've got to get it right because these pitches are going to spin and they are going to be a key to victory. But if we take a look at England as a whole, they're really strong overall, not a lot of weakness. I think they're probably going to be too good for New Zealand in a couple of days' time and book their semi-final spot. And then once that's happened, they're going to be very hard to beat. Now just looking at tonight's game between the West Indies and Sri Lanka, now both teams have been knocked out of the tournament, so all I'm hoping for is an entertaining game of cricket. Now I'm hoping these players come out and they play with a bit of freedom and they just look to entertain the crowd. Now personally, I'm hoping the West Indies bat first and really just look to pile on 400, just be ridiculous, play all their shots and have the freedom to do so. So for me, I think Chris Gale might have an absolutely huge game, and there's other guys in there too with so much power. I'm hoping Hetmeyer, Hope, Braithwaite all get some runs, all hit some sixes and just really entertain us and show us what they are capable of. And on Sri Lanka's side, I'm really excited to watch young Fernando bat. He's impressed the few games he's played. He looks like an absolute classy player and one for the future. And then both Pereiras can hit the ball really cleanly. So there's not much to say about this game. It is a dead rubber, but I'm hoping for an absolutely exciting fixture and hope that they can really put on a show. So that's all for today, guys. Thanks again so much for watching. If you guys could, liking this video will really help me. If you guys haven't already, subscribe, share with your friends, and comment. Let me know what you want to see in future videos, what you guys think of the England-India game and their potential weaknesses and strengths. But for tonight, enjoy the West Indies-Sri Lanka game. I really hope they can entertain, and I'll see you guys again tomorrow.